This is a little bit of a tangent, but I feel like it's really important because I wish somebody told this to me when I started training. Welcome to the Partizan podcast. I'm Ben. This is George, and today we're talking about why do blue belts quit jiu-jitsu
And how to stay in the game.
and how to stay in the game. George, we sound better.
We sound better.
We sound crisp.
Why is that?
I have no idea.
Oh, that's that side. You look different. Do you have new glasses?
I have a new t-shirt
Ah,
available from Partizan
damn.
Apparel.
That's a nice color, man.
I just want to take a quick moment to shout out our sponsors. We don't have any. I've just gone into tremendous debt to buy these microphones. So I've got one request to ask of you, dear listener, please. If you would like to, like and subscribe, I will promise to make George work as hard as he possibly can to make this the best podcast in the world. So if you do those things, I'll make George work very hard.
Holy shit, man. All right, then.
Back to
Alrighty.
the podcast. George, why do blue belts quit jiu-jitsu? What do you think?
Lots of reasons. I think one is everyone's very goal orientated, and then they get that blue belt, and then they realize, okay, what now? What now? I had this experience where I got my blue belt and I did the whole thing for self-defense purposes, right? But once I got to blue belt, I didn't really feel that same insecurity anymore. And so I was like, oh, look, I actually had to find like a new reason to stay and keep training. So I was like, I didn't feel insecure about a self-defense situation anymore. Why do I justify still doing this?
What was your reason to continue training?
Honestly, for me, it was actually watching. What confronted me was I watched this Adam Wojcinski match, and it was one where I can't find the match anymore. If someone can find this match for me, that'll be great. Where it was like definitely a massive skill difference, and he destroyed this other guy so easily that it didn't look like a fight to me. It looked like a chess move, like chess game.
Mm.
And I looked at that and I was like, man, like, is jiu-jitsu even fighting? Like, he did that so easily. Like, that's something about that. That's not fighting. That's not self-defense.
Was he a black belt at the time?
It was a black belt match, but he's just like a super high black belt. And he just destroyed this guy. And then I was like, hang on, there's actually something really cool about that. Like, it didn't look like a fight, but it was a fight. And so from there, I was like, how can I become as technical as possible to make my matches in the gym or wherever not even look like a fight?
So initially you were training for self-defense to defend yourself from, say, an altercation on the street. You're like, that's my goal. That's why I train.
Yeah.
You found that once you got to blue belt, you kind of achieved that goal. You feel comfortable enough. You probably rolled with enough strong beginners in the gym. You're like, I feel pretty comfortable handling myself.
Yeah.
And then you kind of looked beyond that for jiu-jitsu, I guess, in an art form in itself, right?
Yeah.
Or just as a skill development pursuit.
Yeah, literally.
Almost, I guess, endless, we could say, right?
Exactly, yeah. So it went from, this idea in my head of, it has to be a fight and you have to overcome and, eventually win. Whereas later it became, okay, how can I do this in the most efficient way possible and really think through this and really just, technically improve every single day. And then from there, it really unlocked something in terms of like how I, well, I guess just the reason why I came in every single day. And it gave me a new purpose and a new reason to continue training.
It's a really good point. Like finding the reason why you stick around in jiu-jitsu might not be the reason particularly that you started with, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You can transition to a different reason throughout the journey. Have you found, one thing I've noticed with myself, and I guess with a lot of our students here and just in general, is that for the first 1 to 2 years of training, you get better quite quickly. You've got like these lot of noob gains, you'd call it. You're getting better, you're showing up, it's enjoyable because every month you have noticeable increases in skills. You're like, I couldn't do a mount escape and now I can. I couldn't do an armbar, now I can. This is really rewarding as I get better and better. And you don't really have to put too much time and energy and focus into the pursuit in the first year or two because you show up, you kind of do what you're told, you do your fundamentals classes. There's a point in time, and I think it's around early to middle blue belt, where I think things really plateau for a lot of people. And it's like, I don't really know if I've got that much better in the last 2 or 3 months. Like, I think I might almost have stayed the same, or maybe you might feel like you're getting worse in some ways, because I think I think as you plateau out, a lot of people either quit because they don't find it as satisfying anymore because the gains are harder to come by, or they realize they have to double down. They have to start taking ownership of their own training and start studying more, start training more, start focusing more on specifically getting better before they kind of break through that plateau. Did you find that at Blue Belt too?
Yeah, I found something similar. I think what a lot of people don't realize is once you get to that level that you're describing, at that stage, you basically have to take your own training into your own hands. Um, because, like you said, it's not just coming in and showing up and you're getting so much better every single time. Now it's a whole game of, okay, I need to identify things that I want to get better in, I want to improve on, actually, focus on specific areas and getting better in those areas instead of just expecting to show up and get better. Would you agree with that? Is
I
that
would
what you
completely
found?
agree. Yeah, definitely. And I
Yeah.
found that the breaking through that plateau for me really meant either identifying a weak area that needed work. That's one way to approach it, or just identifying an area that I found very interesting
Mm.
to watch and to study and to learn. Like there was a leg lock period I went through in a blue belt that I really enjoyed. That's two ways you can approach it. So I guess if you're purely trying to get as good as you possibly can, I think it's better to go the route of self-identifying weaknesses, particularly if you're competing a lot as well. But if you're just doing this for fun, there's nothing wrong with thinking like, what am I really interested in right now? What sort of guard positions do I find interesting? Am I enjoying wrestling a lot? Like kind of leaning into whatever topic you naturally find interesting, because otherwise you're almost swimming against the tide
Mm.
of like, if you really hate wrestling, but you know you have weak wrestling, it's going to take more discipline and willpower to get over that than it is to if you're just training purely for fun. You can just pick a topic that you find very interesting and move in that direction.
Yeah.
Another thing I think that's worth mentioning that I don't think people realize this until they get to blue belt is just how nice most people are to you in the gym. So
Right.
if you're a white belt, most of the time,
Mm.
colored belts will be quite nice to you when they train.
Yeah.
Not always. They might test you a bit, but they're not smashing you.
Yeah.
They know that you're a beginner,
Yeah.
and they'll give and take, and they'll kind of let you move around, or
Mm.
there might be like some exchanges back and forth, or they'll be working their defense.
Yeah.
But something happens when you get to blue belt where kind of the kid gloves come off,
Yeah.
and you go, "Hey, this guy's a blue belt, or this girl's a blue belt. They've been around for 2 years. Now if I'm a purple belt, or I'm a brown belt, or a black belt, now I'm gonna focus on my own training when we train together."
Yeah.
Which means that you might get submitted 5, 10 times.
Mm.
So you might go from, "Oh, I'm doing okay." You might think you're doing okay against the
Mm.
purple belts until you get your blue belt, and you go, "Oh, no, that I was wrong. They were being really nice to me, and
Yeah.
now I feel it."
It's so funny how that works. I definitely, I think it happens to everyone. I definitely had that experience when I was a white belt, and you'd roll with a purple belt, and they don't even submit you, not even one time in that roll. And in your head, you think, "Whoa, like he didn't even submit me, and
I'm
he's a
fucking
purple belt. Like I'm good. I'm really good at this thing." And the reality is that purple belt just just letting you work, just wasn't bothered, whatever it may be, just being nice. But it's so hard to tell that when you're just a beginner and you think, "Whoa, that purple belt didn't even submit me one time today."
It's hard to have that self-awareness. Another
Yeah.
thing that happens on the other side of the spectrum is, particularly if you're in a gym that has a lot of focus on rank, if you're wearing the gi, if a lot of people take rank very seriously, the white belts that are up and coming will see you as a blue belt and be like, "I'm about to test myself.
Mm.
I'm about to if I can submit you a couple of times, maybe coach is watching. Maybe he goes, 'Hey, young George there is submitting the blue belts over here.'"
Yeah.
Because they want a blue belt too, right? They're just hustling as hard as they can to get that validation and get the rank. So now you're kind of getting attacked by both ends of the spectrum now. You've gone from like enjoying being a white belt, people don't really expect much of you, to getting a blue belt. The white belts might be gunning for your head because they've got something to prove. The higher belts no longer see you as someone that they have to play around with and have nice, soft exchanges because they're currently focused on their own training. So they're like, "Hey, look, if you get submitted 10 times, like you should improve your submission defense.
Yeah.
That's what you should do." So that can be quite a shock for some people. I think that's a big reason.
Yeah, so expect that, I guess. That's the moral of the story is expect to have a tiny shock. But do you think you have that in these kind of gyms where rank isn't
I
as
see
much
it
of a
less. I think I
yes.
see it less. But we haven't really asked anyone, so I'm curious if they have felt that experience
Yeah.
once they get their blue belt. To me, actually, as a coach, it's one of the metrics it's hard to have a metric for what is a blue belt, right? Like when does someone get a blue belt? It's not written in stone.
Yeah.
But for me, if it's when I'm training with somebody and I feel like they've upskilled and leveled to the point where I can't be super nice to them, and it now has to be a bit of an exchange where I actually have to, okay, I have to, mind my P's and Q's when I roll with them. Otherwise they'll jump on a guillotine, or just like if they feel well-rounded and competent enough to have like an exchange now where I actually have to turn it up a bit.
Yeah.
That's a really good sign for me that they're ready to progress. While I think another question is, how does your gym actually promote people? What metrics are they using? It's a hard thing to answer, particularly if you're not a coach. But a lot of gyms, particularly if they are a large gym and they have 200, 300 people, it's really hard to track that many people. So oftentimes people will get promoted based on time served. It's like you joined 2 years ago, you've been training most of that time. Like, here's a blue belt, here you go. Or the amount of classes you've attended. Like you've attended, pick a number, 300 classes.
Yeah.
Now it's time to do your blue belt. I don't particularly agree with either of those
Yeah.
metrics, but the reality is that a lot of gyms have to rely on those sort of metrics because they physically have so many students and so few coaches that they probably don't even know your name. So let alone when you're ready for a blue belt. That might be something that happens too, because a lot of people progress slower or quicker than others. So if you're a slow progressor, but you've been promoted quite quickly, in terms of your skill level, that might be another rude shock as well, particularly, or when you compete, let's talk about that. The competition changes a lot at blue belt, I find.
Is this a tangent then?
No, this is related. Because if you compete at white belt, most people are like less than 2 years in. Okay, it's pretty standard.
Yeah.
If you compete at blue belt, the experience now ranges from 2 years to maybe 8 years.
Yeah.
You'll have teenagers that are 16, 17 years old in your local blue belt division that have been training since they're 5 years old.
Yeah.
So they've been training for 11 years and they've just turned 16, or they've been 16 for 6 months.
Yeah.
They've been given a blue belt because that's, you upgrade from the kid's green belt to the adult blue belt. And now you're in the same division, having trained for 2 years recreationally as this 16-year-old that's been training for 11 years, perhaps quite seriously.
Yeah.
That's a rough.
Can I tell a personal story?
Of course, that.
I did like when I was competing at blue belt. So I'm like, I think I can't remember now. It's probably like a fresh blue belt, not very good whatsoever. And I was in a competition, and I was in the same weight division or bracket as a guy called Reese Allen. And so he was like, judo black belt, European, I think Australasian world, Australasian champion at black belt, something like that.
In judo.
In judo. So obviously this guy's been grappling since 6. And when I saw him in my bracket, I was like, holy shit. I was so scared.
Did you beat it?
Did I beat him? No, he beat the shit out of me.
Did you wrestle with him or?
I had seen him do a
Just
like
launch.
a
Lisa's
like a
weapon, man. He's a very good.
yeah, he was in
grappler.
Australian, and I saw him like a few weeks prior do like a helicopter armbar onto like this other guy, that was really good too, and I was like, holy shit. So yeah, I did not want to wrestle with him whatsoever. And and that's what you can expect at blue belt, is like these freaks that like have been training since 6, and they might be a judo black belt, and you've been training for like 2-3 years, 3 times a week, and now you have to invest them in a long.
That'll a tough pill to swallow, man. No one's ever explained to you that's what happens. Go, hey, that guy's a judo black belt. He's been training since he was 5 years old.
Yeah.
You might not know that. You might be like, dude, blue belts are fucking good.
Yeah.
My first blue belt comp, I was fresh blue belt, and I think I won 1 match and lost like 6.
Yeah.
I just got mauled for 6 matches. I had no idea what happened.
Yeah.
I just got steamrolled because that was the skill level.
Mm.
But it was good for me because it reset my expectations of how good I need to get to go to the next level. So for me, it was a motivating factor in a way of like, I've just got steamrolled at this competition. I've got a lot of shit to work on.
Yeah.
And it's time to get to work. So for me, I guess you can kind of compare it to if you've just climbed like a bit of a mountain and you're just like, oh man, I feel good. I've just climbed this mountain, and you look in front of you and there's like a mountain 3 times the size.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck. Like, I've only just taken a breath and now I've got a mountain 3 times the size. Do I really want to climb this 3 times bigger mountain?
And I think that's what kind of the people that stay in jiu-jitsu are people with the mentality where they see that mountain and they're excited and motivated by that. Whereas other people maybe see that mountain and feel very discouraged by that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a difference in terms of mentality. Like, what kind of mentality do you have towards?
Are you soft and weak? Is that what you're saying, George?
Yeah.
Only the strong survive? Is that what you just said?
I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but, it does
No.
it does show like a particular mentality,
It shows some grit and perseverance, I think, to continue training through those difficult times. The other thing, just realistically, is people just life gets in the way for some people. Life gets in the way.
Oh, yeah.
So they might have been training for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Now they're a bit older. They might have a different job that's more stressful. They might have a kid now. They might be running their own business, and they just don't have the time, or it's not worth it for them to have the time to invest
Mhm.
5, 6 hours a week into this hobby.
Yeah.
Or they pick up other hobbies, which is completely fine. And I think there's a lot of stigma around quitting at Blue Belt, but I actually think if you've made the assessment for yourself and it's not worth it, that's completely fine.
Yeah.
Why does everyone have to do jiu-jitsu?
Yeah. It's not for everyone.
No.
Everyone can do it if they want, but it's not for everyone.
Yeah, like it can be for everyone,
Yeah.
but it is not for everyone.
Yeah.
And the shame that I think the disappointing thing is that people come to a gym oftentimes for the community. And it's unfortunate that I see some people quit, whether that be Blue Belt or another time, and they feel like they can't be part of the community anymore.
Mm.
And then they kind of stop hanging out socially. I feel like
Yeah.
that is a bit of a problem because they feel awkward. We've had it before where people have to pause for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like, can I still come to the hangout? Like, of course you can.
Yeah.
Like, we're all your friends still. You
Yeah.
can definitely still come and hang out. I think it's disappointing. For me, the disappointing part is if somebody quits kind of quietly and you just they just drop off and you don't notice till a few months later and you just never see them again. That's
Yeah.
kind of sad. I think from a community's perspective of, we enjoyed hanging out with this person and now for whatever reason they're not training, but then you kind of break away socially. But I guess that's just part of life as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think, when we talk about like why do blue belts quit, why do blue belts sometimes stay? The reason is honestly for the community. I think some people don't even maybe go through those stages where they're bored by jiu-jitsu or, they might not be super excited about it, but what keeps them in is the community and the friends they make. So they just end up sticking through it and then find a love for it again, etc., etc. So I think one thing to keep in mind is, if you for some reason not fitting into the gym, you can't find people that you're like excited to see, you're not connecting with people on a really sort of deeper level than jiu-jitsu. I think sometimes those people drop off as well. And something to keep in mind for them would be maybe this, a certain gym isn't for them. Maybe try a different gym. Maybe maybe you're 40 years old and everyone in this gym is 16 years old. And you're like, I just don't want to hang out with 16-year-olds. Maybe find a
Completely valid.
maybe find a gym with like, where everyone's, 40 years old.
All the old
or
guys
whatever,
that
even
play half guard.
just
No, I
exaggerating,
completely
but
agree.
yeah.
Yeah, the gym that you start training with doesn't necessarily have to be the gym you stick with because when you started training, you probably just looked it up on Google. You probably found the gym that's closest to your house. You don't know anything about any gym. You're just getting into the sport. And in a few years, you start to realize, oh, actually, maybe I resonate more with this kind of training style at this gym. But it can be hard for people to leave gyms. I think another important thing to acknowledge is that it's not all sunshine and rainbows when it comes to training, and that most people go through periods of like, training's hard right now. Like you might have to motivate yourself to come to the gym. You might have a period off. Like we talked to Serena and she had a number of years off training, and for her, it was quite difficult to come back. I think it should be more normalized to take time off training for whatever reason and just say, hey, look, I have to focus on this for 3 to 6 months. I'll be back. And then particularly if they have health issues or something else that requires more of their focus, rather than just burning themselves out as an individual, sometimes you have to take time away.
Yeah.
And it's more about zooming out and looking at the long term over the 5, 10, 15 years than it is stressing about, like, if I take 3 months off. I've spoken about this before, but I've had deployments that have been 6, 7 months long where I can't train during that time. And that's just the way it is. Sometimes perhaps that was a healthy thing for me to go through because I take this time away training, my body can heal, I can start to get excited about coming back to the gym. Sometimes I think those breaks in the short term can actually be better for that whole long-term journey.
Yeah. But just to push back in a certain way on that too, I've been doing this for like a good amount of years. Like I love training, but even for me, sometimes, I've had a long day at work or whatever it may be. Like I don't feel like coming into the gym. Like I just want to like every part of me just wants to like sit at home, watch TV or whatever it is. And like, I just really don't want to come to training. But it's like I've done it for so long where it's like it's just something that I do, and I like always find when I go training, like I'm glad that I went. But man, like even me, that's like I love this stuff. I've been doing it for so long. Even sometimes I don't want to go. Like I just don't want to go. But then I go and I feel great after, and I'm always like happier after. 9 times out of 10. Sometimes maybe you get bashed or something, and
You go and crying and
like actually maybe I shouldn't have gone.
got the windows down, no music playing.
Yeah.
No, I feel the exact same way. And it's almost those days where like your body's stiff and tired and you've had a long day at work. But those are almost the days you need training the most.
Yeah.
Because you get to move your body around, you get a sweat on, you get to see your friends.
You get out of your head.
Just get out of your head, get out of your house. Even a lot of people, especially if you're working from home, you're in the same house all day. You haven't moved. You haven't seen anyone. Like, of course you feel shit.
Yeah.
You just spent the whole day sitting down at your desk. You haven't seen another person. You haven't moved your body. Like, of course you'll feel shit.
Yeah.
But then you go to training, and I think it can tick so many boxes for people that are just, it's fantastic.
So yeah, it's a fine balance. Sometimes you really have to force yourself to come in. Other times you have to understand that you're burning out, and it's okay to take a step back. So it's hard. You gotta be an adult and be mature and
just be a grown man.
Yeah.
Come into the gym. Or not. Or woman. Of course, women listen to this podcast too. One more thing, just one last point I want to make is some people quit because they get injured, which is unfortunate.
Yes.
Sometimes this can be something that is unavoidable. Oftentimes I'm noticing, even with myself, people get addicted to jiu-jitsu. They're training 4, 5, 6 times a week for an extended period of time, maybe 1 or 2 years. They have no time off. And here's the big kicker is they don't do any strength and conditioning work at all.
Yeah.
So there's nothing really keeping their body together in a way that can have that longevity in training.
Yeah.
So I've found that some people just wear their body out and they don't really see an alternative, which is unfortunate because if they just scaled it back a bit, instead of training 6 days a week jiu-jitsu, they brought it back to maybe even just 2 or 3 times a week jiu-jitsu, even 2 times a week. Just kind of have maintenance in jiu-jitsu. Start introducing 2 or 3 weight sessions. Your body will feel so much better. So much better.
Yeah, 100%. I think when I first started, I didn't have that understanding. And I got to a point where I wore my body down heaps to the point where I was like, oh, look, I'll just quit. I'll just do weightlifting instead. But then you realize you can do both. And it doesn't actually take, when we say strength and conditioning, it doesn't actually take like a crazy amount of strength and conditioning work to just have a functional body and to stay healthy and feel healthy. It's pretty minimal, pretty easy.
This is a little bit of a tangent, but I feel like it's really important because I wish somebody told this to me when I started training. I used to lift weights in the gym and I would do the bro split of like chest and triceps, back and bicep, and you're like 4 or 5 days a week and you're lifting quite heavy. It's like a bodybuilding split, right? That's what everyone would do to try and get bigger. If you try and combine that level of volume and intensity with weightlifting with high volume, high intensity in jiu-jitsu, you probably will burn out because you're not on steroids and you're just a normal person with a job. So for me, I saw it as all or nothing in the gym or all or nothing jiu-jitsu. So for me, I made a conscious decision to just pick jiu-jitsu. I wish somebody told me that you can still train hard at jiu-jitsu. All you really need is 2 full body workouts a week, even if it's 45 minutes. 45 minutes, full body workouts, and that has a fantastic difference compared to no training at all. I wish someone told that to me. We talked to Charles Allen Price, and he's a big proponent of these full body workouts. And yeah, I wish someone told me that earlier.
Yeah. One thing I wish somebody told me earlier would be, you know what, today you're not feeling amazing, but you're like forcing yourself to, or you're using a discipline to make it to the gym today. You don't have to, if you're a superstar, usually like most days, like you don't have to be a superstar every single day. And it's actually okay to just come to the gym, maybe work on something specific, move your body, but you don't have to have this pressure of like, oh, I'm a blue belt and I bash all the white belts. And if I don't bash all the white belts today, like some people are going to look down on me and like I'm not upholding my reputation.
Nobody gives a shit.
Like no one gives a shit. No one notices.
No.
And like the main thing is actually making it to the gym,
yeah,
moving your body and exploring movement patterns, etc. You don't have to like win every single role. So because I know like I feel that pressure sometimes, and lots of people just won't come to the gym at all because they feel like I'm not at my best today and I won't bash everyone today. But it's like it's okay to like lose all the time.
Of course, I like to play games with myself, and this is going to sound kind of weird, but this is how, if I'm having a slow day where I don't have energy, I'll pull bottom side control and have a game of, my job is not to get submitted. using the least amount of energy possible. So if I can find a position where I'm literally not moving, but they're not submitting me or advancing position, then I win.
Yeah.
And I think it's fun. Sometimes you can set up games. Instead of playing the whole game of jiu-jitsu, set up a game where you're like, I want to sweep and submit this person using the least amount of energy and movement possible. So you're forced to become super efficient. Like imagine you're 60 years old.
Yeah.
And that's the body you have, and try to use that instead of being super athletic. It becomes really fun because you get to like just sit and wait and just lay traps. And I just find it really fun.
Yeah, I think that's great. Little games, little mini games.
Like mini games that don't involve you like being top dog in the gym. Yeah. Or work on defense. Just understand what the training room is for. It's not for beating all of your friends and training partners. It's for technical development and progression.
Yeah.
And if that means that you've had a long day at work and you're exhausted, you can come and still have that technical progress in different ways. What do you think? I think that's a good way to wrap it up.
I like it. Let's wrap it up.
Thanks for listening. Like, comment, subscribe.